Welcome back to part 2 of Behind the Scenes with Corncast, and I'm Joe Vaughn, and I'm going to show you the next steps that I take when I do editing in Audacity. So when I left you off earlier, we had just finished Josh and Jordan's audio file, and I'm basically at the same exact spot now with this audio file, which is mine. So what I wanted to show you really quick is once you finish editing one track, you might as well export it as an edited separate file so that you have your source that's been untouched, and then you have an edited file as well. So I'll just go up to File and Export, and we export as WAV files. You can do whatever you want, but WAV is less compressed than MP3, so it's a larger file, but I'm not too worried about that. I have about a terabyte of storage, so I exported as WAV, and I named mine RDR2 Joe, and then I just throw on the edited. And I leave it as defaults WAV Microsoft 16-bit PCM, and I just save. And this is where you can build into your metadata. This is where you have tracks and titles and artist names and all that. We haven't really filled that data out ever, I don't think, so I just leave it blank and hit OK. Okay, now that that's finished, I'm going to bring in the other file, and I'm going to go ahead and import the original one that I was editing in part 1. Keep in mind, Audacity uses an insane amount of resources. It uses a lot of hard drive space. So if you're editing multiple tracks at the same time and doing all of those noise reductions on each one individually, it can eat up like 30 to 50 gigs of hard drive space in no time at all. And I don't even have that much on my main hard drive. So usually that's why I do these one at a time, and then I pull in the edited versions all on their own. So that's just a little quick explanation. So I'll import an audio file. I'm going to import their edited one that I did earlier, and that'll take a few minutes. Okay, that added their audio file with mine, and it zoomed us all the way out to the full hour-long episode. So this is essentially the meat and potatoes of the episode, and as you'll notice, you will see that the waveforms are the exact same height. And that's because of the noise reduction the amplification to that -3 that I did twice. I still haven't tested whether or not -6 is the same thing, but so let's zoom back in and get to about a minute for the width of our frame. So that's pretty far in, actually. Okay, now I'm at 3 seconds. A little too much. All right, there's about a minute. So you can see who starts talking first. And so I usually like to structure my my audio recordings from the top left is the first person talking, and the bottom right is the last person talking, and so that it kind of flows in a bottom right. So if we for say we had a guest speaker that came in, 20 minutes into it, they'd be on the bottom because they're going to come in 20 minutes, and as the time meter goes across, then that you'll pick them up here at the bottom. So in this case, Josh and Jordan, they started talking first. I'll drag them up on top, and then I started talking second. It's just kind of keeping track for me. And while I'm at it and I'm importing, I'll go ahead and import our themes. You have little sound effects and things like that. You can do that at the beginning, or you can do it later. It doesn't really matter, and it doesn't affect things. I can just mute it, and then I don't have to listen to it, and I can reposition it later, so I'll show you that as well. So let's pull in my sounds, and I have a theme full and a theme exit, and I had them split up at one point. I'm just going to get the full, and I'll show you how I go ahead and split them up now into one single file. Oh, it zooms us back out again. That's kind of a pain for Audacity, but so I know now that if I play right away, I'm going to be playing our theme right at the get-go, which is not going to help me hear when people come in and go out. So I'm going to click on our theme, and I don't even think you have to click on it, but I'm just going to mute it so that now that's not being heard when I'm actually editing. So now we have both of them. We have both of our silences in the beginning, which we can then delete, and then we have where everybody came in. So to start out with, I kind of look at if we're matched up. Sometimes you start, when you do 3, 2, 1 start, you start just a fraction of a hair off of one another. So I start going for where they stop talking and where I start talking, and I go through, I don't know, I randomly click through and find points where I start talking and they stop talking, etc., so that we're actually matched up. Now, I'll show you after I get that done. I'll show you what I do with this overlap where you hear each other through the headsets. So let's give it a listen real quick.
I'm Jordan Hall.
And I'm Joe Vaughn, and this week we're talking about the horse killing simulator, Red Dead Redemption 2. So you can see there's an echo. Even on my headset, I have mine turned up a little too loud, and so my Yeti mic is right next to my headset, so it's picking up anything that is going beyond just my ears. So it's picking up their voice right in here. You can hear the echoes. So the easiest way to go about deleting all of that is literally deleting all of that. So I'm going to go at the very beginning of my track and select everything. And I'm going to hit Control L. Control L does the exact same thing as generating silence. So generating silence, you have to go through a bunch of clicks. You hit OK. Bam. Now my track is completely silent. There is no sound there whatsoever. I'm going to do that on all of the blank spaces that are when they're not talking and when I am talking. And you kind of get used to looking at this. You get used to looking at waveforms and telling when speech is, when coughs are. Here's a cough. I can tell cough, cough happened right here. And I know that that's not in a response to anything else, and there's no talking that's going on in between it, so I could get rid of that cough, for instance. So I'm going to just start going through the wave file. I notice, they stop talking here, and then I start talking, so that's all silence. It's gone. And so I'm just going to probably fast forward through this. I'm going to click through here and listen. I'll let you all listen when they stop and when I start talking and try and get that merged up here.
Goddamn tree.
Have you ran it into a tree and left a face blood splat on the trunk of the tree?
No, I have not.
Because that's a thing. So that seems pretty matched up. Let's see that you can tell that this is blank on theirs. Let's find a spot where I stop talking if I actually shut up and they respond. With a locomotive. It looks like my responses are just a fraction of a second late. So I will probably, at the very beginning of my file, I'll probably select like this much and delete it out, and that'll move, well, just like my pointer is pointing, it'll move it that much further to the left. And so my responses to them will be quicker, and then vice versa, their responses will match up a little closer. So let's listen again here.
I got 3.
You got a tonic yet? You have to use tonic, hair tonic, for it to grow past the 3.
Where do I find that?
It's invalid. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go ahead and select just a few seconds out of mine. Not even a few seconds, just it's like a fraction of a second you can see there. And I'll delete that right off. And then let's check it. Then I'll just basically scroll somewhere random and make sure that it's still matching up. So when I talk, then they talk back. Here's a good example at 35 minutes 40 seconds. There's a good example of a talk and then a response that I'm going to go ahead and delete even a little bit more. Sometimes this doesn't work out as well, so we'll give it a try. 30:40 now. I have to go find that.
Crazy.
See if you can bring yourself to kill it.
Oh fuck no, man! I'm not a monster.
I gotta find a picture.
I have to discover. Yeah.
I gotta find a picture of the full Red Dead map, and so I have an idea.
I got the special edition. Did you? What edition did you get?
I got a digital download of just the basic.
Oh man,
see, he got a sweet poster that's got the map.
Yeah, I have
on
the actual map like in a poster form.
So
damn. Okay, I did and a lot.
Yeah, I'm.
All right, now you can kind of see that that's matched up. So that's how you kind of add that space. Again, you can select it and just hit the delete button, or you can select it, you can copy it, and you can paste it to add some space, which we're going to actually do with our intro and out music here in a little bit. Okay. Now I notice my next step is I'm going to go through basically minute by minute, and there's about 60 of them for this. and I select when I'm not talking, I'm going to generate silence for me not talking, and vice versa. When they're not talking, when there's no waveforms, but I am talking, then I'm going to generate silence for them and hopefully clean up a lot of this audio stuff. So at this point, it's very tedious. I probably won't record all of this, but I'm, again, selecting it and then hitting Control L to generate silence. And now that portion of my audio is all silenced, and the vice versa for theirs. Select it, Control L, that area is now silenced for them. So all of that overtones and all of the echoing and all of that stuff just kind of goes away. And I'll also go through here and I'll listen for coughs. There's a cough. It has no need for our audio, and it goes bye-bye. So now that cough didn't happen. And I'll catch back up with you here in a few. I'm back. As you can see, I'm about 30 seconds. I'm about halfway through, and it's taken me, I don't know, when I last stopped, it was like 7 something. So it's, I don't know, 40 minutes. I'm halfway through. It's going to take you a while. I just wanted to give an example real quick of space that I've Control L'd or silenced. You can generate silence. That's the same thing. Here's an example. I'm going to Control Z and show you. This is an example as well. And you can, if you'll listen, you'll hear that my side has space and talk that doesn't need to be in there, and vice versa. So here we go. We're going to give this section a little listen.
I got the special edition. Did you? What edition did you get?
I got a digital download of just the basic. All right. So if you mute mine and if you listen to what was being played when I said I got the basic, you can hear me talking through their headset. So then I'm going to select that and Control L, and now that's gone. And then I can unmute myself over here, and I can select when they're talking and I'm not. Boom. So I'm going to stop right here. There's really no reason for me to go, all the way through this one. This episode has already aired, and we're not going to replace the file. So let me move on to a couple more navigations to show you, which is moving stuff around and inserting sound where you want it to go. So let's start with, we know that talking starts right here. So we can get rid of on both audio tracks. See, I'm selecting both and just hit delete. And that throws it right at the beginning. So now, as soon as I hit play at the beginning, it'll be the very first word spoken.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Corncast. I'm Josh Flavin.
I'm Jordan Hull.
And I'm Joe Vaughn. Okay, so that's our intro. You can kind of see how if I unmuted this at this stage, then it's going to start playing our music over the top of everything that we were doing.
And welcome to another episode of Corncast.
We don't want that. I like to noise reduce our intro. I think it's a little loud if you notice the waveforms. So I'm going to go ahead and, de-amplify. I'm going to throw in a -3 there real quick. It doesn't take long, and I'm going to do that probably twice. All right. So this is out of place. So what do? Well, let's move it. So you select this tool up here is Time Shift tool. And you can select what you want to shift. So I'm going to shift it so that the music comes in right at the end of where I start talking. And I go back to my select and I see if that's a good point for it to come in. Simulator Red Dead Redemption 2. A little bit, maybe I can just put it a little bit further. Give it a real quick listen. Redemption 2. That sounds pretty good. Now is the question of when we come back in and talking, and is the music overlapping our voices too much? So I like to give a listen right here. This is just the dead silence that we usually count to 10 for, so let's see if it's too loud. How many horses have you killed?
I've killed 0 so far, actually.
So I usually like for the audio of our voices to come back in right here, and then it fades on out from there, as you can see. So what I'll do is I will select both lines of audio. I'm going to copy it using Control-C, and then I'm going to use one of the arrows. It doesn't matter whether you put this at the beginning of your selection or at the end of it. I'll just put it at the end of it, and then Control-V, paste, and now I've just pasted it in that space of deadness. And so now we can listen where we come back in. How many horses have you killed?
I've killed 0 so far, actually.
Despite his
That sounds good to me. I usually just give it a rough guess. Now, what do we do with the going out music? Well, we can actually just cut it. So if you do Control X, you can cut it straight out, and then you can just scroll all the way over to the end, get a rough estimate of where you want to place it, and dump it there. So now where we decide, usually we're like, all right, and we're done, or whatever you want to do before that, and you can trim all of that and stuff up. You can be like, I think this is me saying, and we're done. All right, I'm done. Perfect. So get rid of that. Hit delete. That's gone. And it looks like this is a little bit forward, so I like to grab it. And again, start the music before we're actually all the way finished talking. Switch back off of the time shift tool and back onto kind of this, what is it? It's the selection tool. And then I'll go here and where the music starts and hit play.
On the last game.
Make claw hands.
Seems like a good exit. All right. Now that that's done, and I say done in quotes, I didn't finish editing the other half of this. Otherwise, I would have generated silences for all of this. Control L again does that. So pretend that I am all the way done editing this folder. We have our intro music, we have our out music, we have our everything else edited. Now we're going to export again, just like we did with each individual track. We're going to export it as our wave. We're going to save it as our RDR to final or something, give it a name. And now it's going to ask, do you want to mix it down into a single? Well, it has to be for it to work. So this is where the hertz matter. This is why you want your project hertz to be the same. I know our theme is different, but it doesn't seem to affect it. But when you do further editing and your hertz are different with your recording sources, it can be tricky to merge things together or edit them at the same time. So there you go. You merge it down. You do your metadata if you really want to do that. And that's how you edit the Corncast. Thanks so much.